Hey, I've been playing Guild Wars 2 since its initial release 10 years ago, and I've seen plenty of updates and 2 expansions being released during that time. And in March 2022, the long-awaited 3rd expansion, End of Dragons, was released. And although the expansion is called End of Dragons, it's not the end of Guild Wars 2. There even is a 4th expansion in the making. But let's look at End of Dragons first. How does this expansion hold up? Should you buy it even months or years after its initial release? And is it better or worse than any of the other expansions? It's me, Kyo, and let's find that out. I'll kick things off with the story of End of Dragons. After all, the story is the first bit of content you get in contact with in this expansion. And I can be really short about this. The story of End of Dragons is good. It's really good, actually. The voice acting is great, the cinematics are amazing, and without spoiling, the story instances have a grand and great atmosphere. Let's talk about the first 30 minutes of the story. Don't worry, there are no major plot twists to be found here. The story starts off with Aurene, an elder dragon, calling you for aid. Aurene feels a strange shift in an invisible web of ley line energy. These lines are essentially the lifeblood of the world of Tyria. So if anything is off about it, then something must be wrong. You and your friend Goric meet up with Anka, a former colleague of Goric. Anka claimed to have important information about the elder dragons and ley line energy, but instead she kidnaps Goric and sets off to Cantha. Anka also reveals that she is part of the Aether Blades, a group of sky pirates that wreak havoc around the world. And of course we want our buddy Goric back, so we set in the chase. During our attempt, something terrible happens to one of our main characters, and the rest, that's for you to discover. Although this is a typical start of any Guild Wars 2 story, the story becomes more interesting the more you play it. It has its twists and turns and surprised me a couple of times. Over the years, the writing of stories has significantly improved. Back in the 2012 to 2015 era of Guild Wars 2, the stories had a lot of witty and fun moments. This made some of the stories harder to take seriously. Since the Icebrood Saga, a series of major patches in 2019 to 2021, the writing of the stories in Guild Wars 2 have become much darker and serious. This darker and serious atmosphere can also be found in the End of Dragons expansion. Don't worry too much though, there is still room for witty jokes here. It is also expected that the end of this story will be the beginning for a series of new Living World updates. So there will be plenty of stories after you have finished this one. Now let's move on to the Elite Specializations. Every Guild Wars 2 expansion so far adds new Elite Specializations to the game. These Elite Specializations are enhancements for the current classes in the game. Elite Specializations give each class access to a weapon, a number of new skills, and unique class mechanics. If you want to know more about these Elite Specializations, make sure to check my video about it. Anyhow, the Elite Specializations in the End of Dragons expansion align with one of the gameplay fundamentals of Guild Wars 2. Bring the player, not the profession. Since its release in 2012, Guild Wars 2 has tried to reinvent the wheel of MMOs. ArenaNet, the developers of Guild Wars 2, really aim to let each class be useful and give them numerous ways to play. This means that every class should be able to tank, deal damage, or is able to support. The Elite Specializations in End of Dragons fill the gap for a number of classes. For example, the Guardian was not able to provide the Alacrity boon with the current Elite Specializations. The Elite Specialization in End of Dragons for the Guardian can provide Alacrity to allies. This is also the case with the Thief. This class was not really able to support their allies. The End of Dragons Elite Specialization for the Thief changes that. With Dark and Shadow Magic, the Thief is able to effectively protect allies from harm. Although the addition of new Elite Specializations let players play whatever they like, there have always been Elite Specializations better than others. So some are better at providing specific boons, and others are just better at dealing damage. Therefore, it might happen that players in endgame groups prefer one Elite Specialization over another. I don't want to discuss the best Elite Specializations of this expansion right now, because this has changed numerous times over the last months due to several balance patches. So the new Elite Specializations do not necessarily have to be the best Elite Specializations to fill a specific role. To conclude, the new Elite Specializations are fun and fit in the current meta. And also, play the ones you like, because even though it might not be the best pick right now, it will probably be in the future. The new Guild Wars 2 expansion also introduces the player to Cantha, a continent that players from the original Guild Wars are very familiar with. This continent is full of Eastern influences and colorful environments. From the get-go, the player has access to 4 new areas to discover. We have the colorful Xingzhe Island, the dark and gothic inspired Echo Vault Wilds, the cyberpunk and technology-driven Kaineng City, and last but not least, the mysterious Dragon's End. Each region is distinct from one another and have their own world events and collections. Like all other maps in Guild Wars 2, it has a number of hard quests, vistas, points of interest, and hero challenges. If you complete all of these activities on a map, the player is given a generous reward. Completing these objectives can be challenging for newer players to the Guild Wars 2 franchise. For existing players, this is relatively easy. By using the Sky Scale mount, you can easily navigate through the new regions. Some regions like Kaineng City and the Echo Vault Wilds can be somewhat frustrating for players without a Sky Scale. These maps have many layers and are vertically aligned. This means that you have to navigate and look in order to find your way up or down. Although this might be fun when you first enter a map, it can get annoying when you are on your way to a specific objective. I have a Sky Scale and I can quickly move up and down, and sometimes it feels unfair to players that don't have it. This has been a problem with a small number of maps in Guild Wars 2, and this sadly still occurs in 2 of the 4 maps in the End of Dragons expansion. The new meta events on these maps are really worth playing. These grand battles have good rewards and large epic and visually appealing battles. They have a good replayability and there are a significant number of players participating in these events. As of right now, the rewards are good, but are in some regard less rewarding compared to other meta events in Guild Wars 2. In order to keep these meta events running and populated, I feel like some of these rewards can be increased, so let's hope that these get even better in the future. There are also a number of new features and masteries in this new Guild Wars 2 expansion, just to name a few where I will elaborate on. Fishing, skiffs, jade bots and the siege turtle mount. So next to the story and exploring, there are tons of other activities you can do. These activities are all tied to the current mastery system in Guild Wars 2. In order to unlock or improve in these features, you have to gain a level and obtain a mastery point. Fishing, of course, can be done near water. While you are fishing, you see 2 bars that you have to align in order to catch a fish. Instead of standing next to the water, you actively have to participate in order to catch a fish. There are also collections tied to fishing. Fishing at different spots all over the world, not just in Kantha, lets you catch different fish. Even fishing during the day or night can make a difference for the fish you catch. And the best part is, you don't have to look far to obtain the fishing mastery. You get it very early while playing through the End of Dragon's story. Skiffs go hand in hand with fishing. These are also unlockable relatively early in the End of Dragons expansion. Skiffs are small boats which you can use to set sail on open waters. You can even bring your friends along and fish with them on a skiff. Jade bots are also unlocked through the story. These little helpers can help you with a lot of things. They can give you an upward boost while gliding, can set a personal waypoint where you can respawn whenever you die, and they can revive you when you're down. Next to that, they can also light up lanterns, provide additional buffs, and open chests. These little helpers are fun and easy to use. You don't need to summon them, they are always there. There is, however, one downside I have encountered with the Jade bots. The Jade bots and their additional buffs are character bound. This means that you have to unlock the Jade bot through the story for every character you want to use it. This feels really unnecessary and it can be troublesome for players that play a lot of characters. This might change in the future though. Always keep an eye out on the wiki to know the most recent changes to these Jade bots. The last mastery I will discuss is the Siege Turtle mount. This mount is an unlockable mount after you have completed the story and discovered most of Kantha. Mounts were introduced in the Path of Fire expansion, so they have been around since 2017. The big difference with the Siege Turtle mount compared to other mounts is that it can carry 2 players. One player drives the Siege Turtle, the other one uses its cannons. In order to obtain the Siege Turtle, you have to complete a collection. This will take you some time, but if you have completed the story and most of the other content, then it should not be too hard to complete. All of these features require mastery points to unlock. These mastery points are easier to obtain than in other expansions. It is easy to unlock most features by obtaining the mastery points you find along the way. However, if you want to completely max out a mastery track, then you might have to put in some extra effort. In order to get the mastery points you need to max out a mastery track, you have to complete a number of harder achievements. I think this is fair. You can use and max out most features like fishing or jade bots, but if you want to max out all of them, you have to put in some extra effort. Alright, but does this expansion introduce us to new endgame content? Well, yes Yes and no. End of Dragons does not introduce new game modes or anything. However, they did add new strike missions. These strike missions are tough boss battles designed for 10 players. The new ones are definitely harder than the existing ones, so yes, it does add new challenging endgame content to the game. On top of that, the new strike missions even have a challenge mode. This makes the new strike missions even harder and are designed for extremely organized groups. So if you want challenging content, End of Dragons got you covered. I also expect new and more strike missions in the near future. There are also the well-known meta events. These are more accessible since everyone can join them and it only really requires a level 80 character. They are fun and I've already covered those in the region section of this video. Alright, so far the expansion is really good, but how does it hold up against the two older expansions, Heart of Thorns and Path of Fire? In terms of story, I believe that the End of Dragons expansion has the best written story. Also, the cinematics are significantly better than the older expansions. However, if you just started playing Guild Wars 2 and hop into End of Dragons right away, then you'll be bombarded with characters and regions you have never heard of. This might give you some trouble understanding and following the storyline, so if you want to play the story in a chronological way, then you might be better off purchasing the older expansions and Living World episodes first. In terms of regions and maps, I think it is comparable with the Heart of Thorns expansion. It has great and fun world events and quests, but 2 of the 4 maps struggle with vertical map design. Getting to an upper or lower level might be troublesome for some players. The Path of Fire expansion did not have that many of these maps and was therefore easier to navigate and explore. The End of Dragons maps do have a lot of variety though. They are very distinct from one another. End of Dragons introduces by far the most features of any Guild Wars 2 expansion, and they also designed those very well. The expansion does not bombard you with these new features and instead gradually introduces these features to the player. I believe that the developers found the right balance here. In terms of endgame content, the End of Dragons expansion does well. It introduces players to new and more challenging strike missions. One of them is arguably the hardest piece of endgame content yet. However, if you are really into raids, then you might feel a bit disappointed or left out since the expansion did not release any new raid wings yet. So what's my verdict? What do I think of the End of Dragons expansion? I think it's good. If I had to give it a rating, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. It is what you expect of a Guild Wars 2 expansion. The expansion is of great quality, but they chose a somewhat safe route. It did add a number of fun new features, but did not add anything game-changing. End of Dragons continued to build on existing features that were already introduced in previous expansions or content updates. Take for example the mounts and the strike missions. And although there is nothing wrong with that, I hoped for a little more. If Guild Wars 2 keeps dropping expansions like this at a more rapid pace, then I'm sure it will keep a big, long-lasting audience. So, should you buy End of Dragons? As an existing or returning Guild Wars 2 player? Yes, definitely. As a new player, I would suggest playing the older expansions first, just to get to know the game, especially the story and its existing features a little better. After you are done with that, pick up End of Dragons. So, what do you think about the End of Dragons expansion? Does it have everything you hoped for? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.